So we're going to today mix up a tin cure silicone or a condensation cure silicone called Mould Max City. So Mould Max City has a mix ratio of 100 parts A to 10 parts Part B. Once we've combined these two together and mixed them, we have a pot life of about 45 minutes and a cure time of typically 16 to 24 hours. So the 30 stands for the 30A Shore hardness, which is a medium. It's not a soft silicone, it's not a hard silicone, it's just a medium firmness silicone. So good for a variety of applications. So quite importantly, we just need to give the catalyst a bit of a shake. We need to get some settlement occurring, so we're going to give the catalyst a shake to start off with. Just make sure you don't have any sediments at the bottom there. And then this is quite an important little tool to have with some of the containers, especially these paint tin. It really helps you to open these up. So it allows you to get into the lip there and just to get that lid off nice and easily. And we need to do the same with the part A as well. So I'm going to get a mixing stick and just get down to the bottom and just make sure that this is pre-mixed. If these silicones have been sitting on the shelf for a couple of months, you typically will find fillers have settled down to the bottom. And so that pre-stirring or pre-mixing is just to get the sediments mixed in. That feels fine. So for this mixing demonstration, on the Mould Max 30, as I mentioned, it's 100 to 10 parts by weight. So we're going to need a nice little accurate gram scale to measure this. So here we've got a great little scale that measures up to a max of 2 kilograms. It measures in 0.1 gram increments, so nice and accurate. You can turn the scale on, and we have a 0 figure. As soon as we put the container on, the container weighs 22.5 grams, so we just need to reset that back to a 0 figure, so we can just be accurate with that ratio. And I think for this we'll just measure out 100 grams of silicone. Okay, we've got a little bit too much in here, so we have to take a little bit out. Got 110 grams. Brilliant. Okay, there we go. So there we've got 101 grams, so 100 is, that's going to be close enough. And give the catalyst a shake. So we can just reset the scale back to a 0 figure at this stage. I'm going to be adding 10 grams of catalyst into this. You can also measure it separately and add it if you'd prefer to be a bit safer, but here we'll just add the catalyst proportional straight across, so we're aiming for 10 grams of catalyst. At 7, 10.1, so that works us there. So we're going to give this a good blend. So through the mixing process, we want to be sure to scrape the sides, scrape the bottom, and make sure we have a good blend of part A and part B. What's quite nice about this silicone is the catalyst being a red color, and then getting mixed you get to see this pinkish color, and as it's blended properly you'll have a nice uniform pink, so you can see when it's been blended adequately. So during the mixing process, very important to scrape the sides, scrape the bottom, and give it a thorough blend. When you're doing small quantities like this, the mixing process is pretty easy, but if you're doing larger values, 5 kilos, You've got to really be quite careful to get down to the bottom of the container and scrape quite nicely. Another little tip that I like to do is to do a mixed pour mix technique. So once we've mixed in the first container for a little bit, we'll actually transfer that mixed product across into a clean container. And mix it again just to make sure we don't have any unmixed products. So we're going to give that a mix again. And by doing this little mix pour mix technique, we can just be sure that everything is really well blended. Okay, and that is ready to be used. So it can be poured over a mold. What is quite nice about the Mould Max City, we can also add a bit of a thickening agent into it as well. So here we've got a product called Thivex 2. And this is just an additive to use for thickening up your silicone. So you're adding a very small proportion of Thivex, typically between about 1.5 to 2%. So here we're just going to put a very small little hole in the seal, and I can use it as a little dripper bottle. So let's get it back onto the scale again, get it back to 0. And for the 100 grams of silicone that I've got here, we can just add, I'll do 2%, so 2 grams of the thickening agent. So as you can see, that little fine hole we can measure out nice and accurately. 1 gram, 1.5, and there's our 2 grams. So if you're intending to do brush-on mold making applications, we want the silicone to hold a vertical surface. The thickening agent will thicken up the silicone, so will allow for that mold making technique. Just takes a little while for the chemical reaction to occur. And there you can see how the silicone's been thickened quite nicely for a brush-on application. And that's your Mould Max 30.